Good morning, everybody. Happy Friday. We have an amazing show for everybody today. What do we have, Krystal?
Indeed, we do. We've got Lisa Bryant. She's the director of a new series on Jeffrey Epstein. We'll talk to her about that. We've got Aaron Mate on. Been a while since we had Aaron, so I'm excited to have him back. He's talking about John Bolton and all his feelings around that. We've got David Sirota on to talk about some new developments with regards to private equity. But we wanted to start with some pretty significant developments here in the presidential race.
Yeah, this caught a lot of people's eyes. Happened late last night on MSNBC with Amy Klobuchar taking herself out of the vice presidential running. Let's take a listen.
But let me tell you this, after what I've seen in my state, what I've seen across the country, this is a historic moment, and America must seize on this moment. And I truly believe, as I actually told the vice president last night when I called him, that I think this is a moment to put a woman of color on that ticket. And there are so many incredibly qualified women. But if you want to heal this nation right now, my party, yes, but our nation, this is sure a hell of a way to do it.
There you go. I mean, some people think that it might be a cynical move, but one of the things that a lot of people on, it's like maybe you weren't,
a cynical move.
Like maybe you just weren't in contention anymore, and you're like, no, I'm taking myself out of the process. But a lot of people notice that this is also a very subtle dig at Senator Elizabeth Warren, if you don't accept some of her past claims about her own heritage. But Senator Warren is now very much out on an island in terms of her own vice presidential chances. And it looks like, we know Stacey Abrams has said straight up, I'm not even being considered. I have not even been asked. So the people that we know who've been considered by the vice president's team in terms of open source reporting, Kamala Harris probably most at the top of the list.
Yep.
And then we have Val Demings and then Keisha Lance Bottoms, the mayor of Atlanta.
Susan Rice as well.
Right.
Has been mentioned on that list too. And look, there may be others that we don't know about, but it looks like it is coming down more or less to those four. It is an interesting move. My first thought was what you said, that she's clearly read the very obvious tea leaves. Right? I think Amy was really in line to end up being the vice president. I really thought she was the top pick until everything happened with George Floyd, and it comes out that she had failed to prosecute the officer who ultimately murdered George Floyd. And that really just destroyed her chances very obviously. So this is a smart and savvy move. She gets to take herself out of contention in a very dignified way, win lots of plaudits, lots of kudos for saying we need a woman of color. And at the same time, look, Amy Klobuchar is not a progressive. Elizabeth Warren, a little questionable how progressive she is at this point. But from Klobuchar's perspective, she is certainly more progressive. And so she also gets to sort of knife someone who is an ideologically opposed to her in certain ways. So, yeah, ultimately it comes down to ideology. Because if you look at Kamala, if you look at Val Demings, if you look at Keisha Lance Bottoms, you look at Susan Rice, they all have basically the same ideology, pretty much in line with Amy Klobuchar, pretty much in line with Joe Biden. So you're not getting any substantive policy difference. You're holding strong on that neoliberal establishment militaristic approach. And so that's very comfortable for someone like Amy Klobuchar. It's the next best thing she can get, I guess, if it's not going to be her on the ticket.
And this is the key point, which is that's what he wants to keep doing, because do no harm. That's when all of the analysis I've read. Kyle Kondik, who we had on the show, he's written a great post and over at the Crystal Ball UVA website. And what do they talk about? He's like, if I am Joe Biden, I'd want to do zero harm to my chances. And he's not wrong, by the way, folks. We have a Fox News poll that came out yesterday. Let's throw that up on the screen here. Biden 50 points, Trump 38. So Biden up 12 over Trump.
Wow.
Now, to put that into context, Hillary Clinton never hit above that 50% number. That 50% number during the entire 2016 election. Never hit that number. And so this is one of the things where people want to say, oh, it's just like 2016, they're oversampling. Sure, I think that can all be true. But plus 12 means that thing has to be wrong by 7 points, including the margin of error, in order for that to go the other way. I just don't see it. Same thing in these Quinnipiac numbers that came out yesterday. Let's throw that up on the screen. And so we have these. The white vote you can see is 42% Biden, 50% Trump, the black vote at 82.9, and the Hispanic vote at 57.31. Now, this is the only place actually where there is some good news for Trump in these polls, and the reason why is that compared to the 2016 exit polls, is that Biden is down 9 points among Hispanics, and Trump is up by 3 points within that demographic. So again, the reason we always want to make sure we show that to you is, okay, Trump, Biden plus 12, all that. It seems like the white vote is actually an older white vote in particular.
It's what's saving him.
What's saving him. But if he were to lose, or if the things were to go closer, if things were to go fuzzy, it's going to be because of depressed Hispanic turnout or even some switch over to Trump. And for some reason, Biden is not appealing to Hispanics whatsoever in this campaign in comparison to all past Democratic nominees.
Yeah, and I guess it's not surprising when you consider that in the primary, Bernie Sanders overwhelmingly won that group. Yeah. And when you consider, look, frankly, they just haven't really done the outreach, right? Mm-hmm. They haven't really tried. So when you don't try, that's exactly what, and Chuck has also told us, Chuck was the architect of that strategy, which was probably the most successful part of the Sanders campaign, actually turned out, actually changed the margins, helped them to win in key states, including Iowa and certainly in Nevada. They haven't even reached down to him. So they're not really paying attention to this group. Maybe they don't need to. But it is so interesting. First of all, a couple things. Going back to the Fox News poll and the fact that he's up by 12, Biden is up by 12 and at 50% in a Fox News poll. Remember how when the CNN poll came out, it was like plus, 13 or 14?
14.
And they came out with their BS polling memo about how this is a fake poll, and they hired a new pollster to basically tell them whatever numbers they wanted to hear. I wonder if they're going to do that same thing.
I'm like, I'll hold my breath to see if that one comes up. But the age of this thing is also what catches our eye, because what have we been telling you guys? Which is that the senior vote is the single most important one for Trump. He won it last time around. Now look at that number right there. 51% Biden, 43%
That's wild.
Trump. That is brutal. And the reason why it's particularly brutal is because I'm told that these seniors like to vote and they show up disproportionately relative to
shine, or pandemic.
Yeah, these people will always vote. And the other important thing is that those numbers were, he was over water among seniors until what? Coronavirus. So it is the coronavirus pandemic in particular which seems to have soured seniors to Trump. And so the way that you handle that is by looking like you have a strong grip on the country, a strong grip on the situation. The Trump campaign continues to say, well, hold on a second. Right now it's about coronavirus. Soon it's going to be about the economy. I think that's true, but the state of the economy is also not good. So if you have seniors and then the entire American middle class basically with a 3-month hole in their wages and with debt and no money, no ability to spend, and no ability to generate capital, you're going to be in a bad situation.
Also, with seniors, they're less vulnerable to the daily fluctuations of the economy and more concerned about their own health and ability to literally live. Mm-hmm. But if you think about, this coalition that's behind Biden, it is definitely a little different than what people expected. There's this assumption in the Trump era because of his rhetoric on race, because of his rhetoric on immigration, that those groups, African Americans and Hispanics in particular, will go overwhelmingly to Democrats. There's also an assumption that young people are just going to automatically go overwhelmingly to Democrats. It looks right now like Joe Biden is underperforming with all of those groups, but the old white people love him so much that he is crushing it in terms. Look,
and
he does ultimately.
Numbers, you're like, oh wow.
Enthusiasm, no enthusiasm, Sleepy Joe, whatever. They are coming in really strong for him, and it's hard to see how that really shakes or shifts. And part of why is because if you look at how people feel about the state of the country, they feel very much like President Trump has further divided this country, if we can put this up. 2/3 of Americans say that Trump's presidency has made the country more divided. So again, if you think about sort of risk-averse seniors, and not that we want to paint too broad of a brush, there's lots of variability of opinion within the white senior demographic. But if you think about seniors a little more risk-averse, that message of Biden of just let's come together, let's be normal, let's have unity, let's calm the waters is extraordinarily appealing. He's kind of playing to that in a new campaign ad, general election campaign ad. Let's take a look at that.
The moment has come to deal with the denial of the promise of this nation, made to so many. Because if it weren't clear before, it's clear now. This country wasn't built by Wall Street bankers and CEOs. It was built by the great American middle class. Healthcare workers, docs, nurses, delivery truck drivers, grocery store workers. You know, we've come up with a new phrase for them: essential workers. We need to do more than praise them. We need to pay them. As president, it's my commitment to all of you to lead on these issues and to listen. For that's what the presidency is: the duty to care for all of us, not just those who vote for us, but all of us. This job is not about me, it's about you, it's about us.
Look, there's nothing.
This is a pretty decent ad.
Nothing revolutionary about it, but pretty good, standard,
Very
like
milquetoast,
Americana ad.
Right.
I think it's very effective,
No,
frankly.
I think it works. This is the thing. Look, is it for me? No. Can we talk a lot about Biden's own Wall Street stuff? Sure.
Of course.
But look, most people don't want to hear it. Most people just want to go back to normal.
Well, and
They're
there's
like,
zero no talk,
I don't even
not
know what any of
one
that
word
means.
of policy
Right.
in there. But that's honestly, that's all he has to do is just like, I'm going to bring things back together. I'm just going to be a normal standard issue president. It's not going to be crazy. It's not going to be ugly. It's going to be calm and standard issue. At this point, that's all he has to do.
norms and going back to normal is the thing that upper middle class white people and seniors want to hear more than anything, right? They love norms because norms work for them. When going back to normal, well, normal works very well for them. These are
Very
the people who are benefiting the most. And yet, one of the things that we see is that there is continuing, the president and his team are continuing to say, this is exactly like 2016. And they just don't seem to understand, A, this is not Hillary Clinton you're running against, one of the most, probably most unpopular, disliked people in American history. But also what they can't seem to understand is that this time it is a little bit different, just given the magnitude of the crisis, given how the American people see this. It's not like the Mueller investigation.
Right.
It's not hyper-partisan. So one of the things that the Trump campaign is trying to do is to say, well, let's contrast the two of them. And what they're doing is, this comes out from Politico, let's throw that up on the screen, is that they want to debate Biden more. And the campaign is actually saying that they want to have 4 presidential debates against Biden, and they want to accelerate the timeline on those and make sure that they're evenly spaced so that the American people always get to check in. Now, if I'm Biden, what do we know from them?
Absolutely
Stay in the basement.
not. Stay in the basement.
One debate. I'll be like, you have one. We'll hold it like
We're gonna
right
do it.
before.
We're gonna do it by Zoom.
Do it by Zoom.
30 minutes long.
Yeah, it'll be 26 minutes. And
Everybody gets to use the teleprompter.
Everybody, yeah, right. That's if I'm Biden, I don't want to debate Trump. You know, I mean, given his proclivity in order to just like have gaffes and talk all this stuff, and when you're winning by like 12 points, like just keep on.
That's right. I mean, that's the way you won the primary too.
But the Trump
Didn't
campaign
really do much.
is correct, I think, in order to try and challenge him, maybe get some more debates out of him. I do think that there is also a danger in saying, oh, he's like senile and can't speak. And then if he can speak, you're like, oh, well, he actually did pretty good.
It was okay,
right?
yeah.
And
you set the bar too
that
low.
shouldn't be the bar, but like that's what it could be. So it's a tough balance. I do think at this point, when you're down this much, debate as much as you possibly can.
Yesterday, in this Wall Street Journal interview that the transcript came out from yesterday, first of all, it's hilarious to read. It's really wild. His thoughts on race and Juneteenth and all of this was hilarious. Yeah. But part of it was they asked him he was talking about a list of accomplishments, and it was one of those deals where like an assistant walks in with the list and he's just like reading it off. I'm sure you're familiar with this. This is the go-to move,
he's done
right?
It to me before, yeah.
And one of the accomplishments was resurrecting cable news and the Washington Post and the New York Times.
Yes.
And he was like, I don't know what they're going to do if they have Sleepy Joe. And he said he's dead from the neck up, was his quote. So yeah, there's a danger in going a little too far with that kind of rhetoric, and then Joe exceeds expectations. But look, clearly Trump's going full steam with this rally. They want to shift into full campaign mode on the ground. And I totally understand. I think that is the right strategy for them. But right now they have a lot of ground to make up.
They really do.
And not that long of a time, honestly.
That's right.
All right, we're going to tell you what's on our radars. That's next.